Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with 10 stunning albums of non-standard repertoire on fabulous indie labels. In this case, the indie label that we're talking about is DUTTON, and specifically DUTTON EPOCH, which has the cool repertoire part. You may recall, this is very, very interesting, I think, in discographic history, because DUTTON is one of those smaller independent labels that has crept up in the world, doing a lot of really interesting stuff, but without much fanfare. They don't really promote themselves that much. They need to do more of that, I think. Sure, they get the usual, shout out, I guess, in England from the UK press and whatnot, but in the rest of the world, they deserve more credit because they've done some really cool stuff, particularly British music. You would think that between Chandos and Hyperion, all of that had been done. Evidently not. DUTTON has specialized in doing a lot of discovering the nooks and crannies of composers we thought we knew and recording other stuff from composers we didn't know. And it's become a wonderful collection. And I have 10 fabulous releases. Now, DUTTON was known originally as an audiophile label that specialized in historical restorations. Remember those? I mean, they would take sort of public domain stuff and issue it sounding better than the junky restorations that the major labels were doing of their own things. And I guess maybe they still do some of that. I don't really know. I'm not sure what they're up to other than this series, because I've been listening to it now for years and enjoying disc after disc after disc and series after series. And there's just some splendid stuff of English, French, German, American repertoire. They're branching out, and they have quite a catalog, a very, very impressive catalog of cool stuff. So I have 10 releases here, which are utterly typical of what they've been doing. And the list is down below here, so you can look at it and not have to pay attention to the way I pronounce things or what I'm saying. But you should hear some of it for sure. Starting out with, ta-da! Sir Arthur Sullivan, L'Île Enchantée, the ballet in one act. Now, this has been recorded before. I think it was on Marco Polo, actually, but it doesn't matter. This is a nice new recording. We can't have too many Arthur Sullivan things, because you also get his Procession March and Daydreams and the Overture to the Sapphire Necklace. All of this stuff. Early stuff. Sometimes this had to be prepared or orchestrated or re-snatchified by whatever shape the manuscripts were in, but it's all extremely well done, and it's beautifully conducted by the BBC Concert Orchestra under John Andrews. It's delicious. So there you go, some weird Arthur Sullivan. It's a great way to get started. Sullivan is always a great way to start the day, isn't it? Next, this is quite interesting. This is 3 chamber works by 3 English composers from the sort of turn of the 20th century. You get the Quintet in G, the piano quintet actually, by Henry Walford Davies, and the quartet, the piano quartet in C minor from 1920, and this other thing was 1927, by Alfred M. Wall. And then, last but not least, the piano quartet by Susan Spain Dunk, not to be confused with Heloise Slam Dunk. She was a different Dunk. Anyway, these are lovely works by fascinating composers. This is with the Tippett Quartet, and John Mills and Jeremy Isaac, and those are the people in the Tippett Quartet. Lynn Arnold is the pianist. The other 2 people are Lydia Lowndes Northcott and Bozidar Yukotic. I mean, why did I even try? I wonder sometimes. But you get lovely notes. These are wonderful, wonderful notes, and they're very, very clean and simple and easy to read, and lovely, lovely stuff. So here they are, 3 totally unknown English chamber music people. And what the heck? If you like totally unknown English chamber music, you're going to love this. I listen to it. They're fine works. It's good stuff. There is so much good music. It's hard to differentiate sometimes between the good stuff and the astonishingly great genius stuff. There is a difference. How you're going to pick them, I don't know. The only way to do it is to listen to lots of things and decide what you like. Anyway, I like Spain Dunk. I just like her name. I really do. I just think it ought to be slam dunk, but what the heck. Okay, then we have Paul Lacombe. Paul Lacombe, a French composer, a very good one. He wrote tons of music, apparently, because these are his opuses 98, 100, and 101. You get his piano quartet in C minor, his cello sonata in A major, and violin sonata number 3 in G major, performed by people who I won't pronounce, so I can't make a fool of myself quite as thoroughly as I usually do. These are pretty works. He is a French composer, fin de siècle, 20th century, in the tradition of, say, Saint-Saëns and Fauré and those people. So if you like that school, you will enjoy these works. I mean, that I'm sure of. They're extremely finely crafted and very sensitive and lovely, and I enjoyed them very much. And so will you. So Paul Lacombe is number 3. Number 4, we're still in France. Benjamin Godard, whatever you want to call him. He was a conservative French composer, but another very fine craftsman. And here we have a really cool work. You've got, first of all, his Piano Concerto number 1, which is from 1875, and it's a sort of Mendelssohnian / German Saint-Saëns style concerto, without quite the tunes, let's be fair. Then the introduction in Allegro for piano and orchestra from 1880, more Schumannesque, I would suppose, yes, or something like that. But, then we get the Symphony Orientale, Opus 84. Oh, yes, the Orientale. It's got Arabia, Les Éléphants, movement number 1. China, Chinoiserie, movement number 2. Greece, Orientale, Sarah la Baigneuse. Remember, Berlioz wrote a Sarah la Baigneuse as well. And then Persia, La Rêve de la Nikine, which is a quasi-adagio. And finally, Turkey, a Turkish march to wind up with. Now, his Orientalisms are not as colorfully crazy and heavy-duty as some other French composers' Orientalisms, but they are Oriental enough for sure, and this makes a wonderful addition to that whole school of music that was part of the French Romantic age, that love of exoticism, and you can't have too much of that stuff. You just can't. I don't care who wrote it. It's wonderful. And by the way, this Godard series it's a series. There's like 3 or 4 discs of this stuff out. So if you like him, there will be more. One of the nice things about DUTTON is they have done series devoted to these composers so that you can actually get more than one disc and follow them along. And here's a wonderful, wonderful recording. Frederick Shepherd Converse. Frederick Converse is just a good composer. He was really, really, really a good composer, a terrific composer. And this disc contains pieces that have not been recorded before or haven't been recorded in a zillion years. His Song of the Sea, tone poem after Whitman, the same poem that gave us Vaughan Williams' Sea Symphony and Howard Hanson's Sea Symphony and everybody's Sea Symphony after Whitman. And then the Festival of Pan. And finally, the American Sketches, Symphonic Suite for Orchestra, a delicious work that no one knows, and especially Americans. Don't get me started about Americans and American music. How is it possible that this is not standard repertoire in American musical circles? First movement, Manhattan. Second movement, The Father of Waters, whatever that means. Third movement, Chicken Reel. Yeah. Fourth movement, Bright Angel Trail. Wow. Go listen to it. Now. Ooh, John Foulds, a 4-disc set of John Foulds. There's another Converse disc too, by the way. John Foulds was a crazy composer who spent a lot of time in India, where he had some unusual mystic type Eastern influenced wife person who encouraged him to write lots of stuff about that part of the world. And he's famous for a couple of works, bigger works, the dynamic triptych and the 3 mantras, for example, that were recorded by Lyrita and elsewhere, and also his World Requiem, this huge choral extravaganza. But after that period, he came back to, like good old England and became a composer of very good light music. a lot of it colorful music. And this first disc here, this is the first disc in what became a 4-disc series with Ronald Corp and the BBC Concert Orchestra. You get his Celtic Overture, and then the Celtic Suite, and the Sicilian Aubade. This is like a travelogue, his music. And then the Isle of Greece, and the Holiday Sketches, which consists of Festival in Nuremberg, Romany from Bohemia, Evening in the Odenwald, and Bells at Coblence. I mean, what a collection of stuff, right? And then an Arabian Night, only one, and the Suite Fantastique. Now, I mean, doesn't that just sell itself? John Foulds is a wonderful composer to get to know, and like I said, there are 4 discs in this series. So, and they're all worth hearing. There's also a series of the orchestral music of Charles-Marie Widor. You know, we only know him for the finale of his 5th organ symphony, the toccata. You know, cha-cha, cha-cha-cha, 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 cha-cha-cha. Had enough? I mean, don't you think that there's more by him that we should be listening to? Well, there is. He was a real composer. He wrote lots of orchestral music. He wrote several symphonies with organ and orchestra, similar to the Saint-Saëns, and not worse. Beautiful, beautiful pieces. And this has some really cool stuff. This disc is volume 3 already. Volume 3, you've got his Walpurgis Nacht, La Nuit de Walpurgis. Oh, what fun that is. And it ends with a bacchanal. I mean, the French do bacchanals so well, you know, it's just their thing. And he wrote a violin concerto. How lovely. And his first symphony from 1870. So Widor. Widor is fun. I like Widor, these French people. And some Germans, Walter Braunfels. Now, DUTTON is kind of in a competition with other Braunfels labels. He's been quite popular lately. There was some on and there was quite a bit on Capriccio. There's a whole series of Braunfels. He was a very solid composer in the fin de siècle German style. And here we have his symphonic variations on an old French children's song from 1909, one of his very earliest orchestral works, because his dates were, 1882 to 1954. And he was kind of ignored because he was like tonal for his whole life. Yeah, he didn't go that way, and he also wasn't really like a Nazi. So he was suppressed before the war and then suppressed after the war. It's just such a pity. He was a really good composer. And then we have his Sinfonia Brevis, Opus 69 from 1948. And finally, his suite from The Glass Mountain of 1929. All delightful music. Late Romantic German music of the, Strauss school, roughly speaking, and very, very enjoyable. So that's nice to have. And then we have, another series that's in the works. I hope it finishes. I hope there's lots more, because we desperately need one. Charles Martin Loeffler. Remember, I just said that, talking about Stokowski's recording of a pagan poem. We need serious attention to Loeffler. Well, we have 2 discs so far, and more to come. So this one has the Divertissement Espagnol for saxophone and orchestra. Yep. La Villanelle du Diable, a wonderful, strange little dual tone poem thing. And then May Night for violin and orchestra. And finally, his Divertissement in A minor for violin and orchestra, which consists of a preamble, an eclogue, and then the Carnival of the Dead for violin and orchestra. Yes, Loeffler was a juicy, decadent character. I love his music. He lived from 1861 to 1935, and there's lots of it. So keep it coming, DUTTON, please. Keep it coming. This is with the BBC Concert Orchestra under Johannes Wildner. They sort of have the BBC Concert Orchestra doing all this stuff, and they do it perfectly well. It's a good professional group, and you get very decent results. Although here we have the Royal Scottish National Orchestra with Martin Brabbins doing Havoc OBrien. Yay! More Havoc OBrien. Havoc OBrien is just coming into his own. I mean, this may be as far as he gets, frankly. So it's nice that we have decent professional recordings of most of his symphonies. I just recommended as a Dave's fave, one of the Naxos recordings of Havoc OBrien with the RTE Orchestra of Ireland or whatever that thing is. And someone wrote me the most nasty, vicious message saying, you're a boob, you're a jerk, you're a fool. I hate that recording. It's terrible. It's awful. These are semi-professional performances at best. They never get to the true essence of Havoc OBrien, blappity, 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 blap. Well, beggars can't be choosers. That's all I can say about it. They are solid professional performances, well recorded. And if there comes a time when we have multiple versions of these pieces and we can discover what is the ideal interpretive approach to Havoc OBrien's music, I'm all for it. But until then, we have good, solid recordings like this one. This is wonderful. It has Symphony number 5, The Wine of Summer, with a poem by Lord Alfred Douglas. It's a single movement symphony, only 19 minutes long, with Roderick Williams, the baritone soloist. And then symphonies numbers 19 and 27, and the Festal Dance, which opens the disc and which has been recorded before, but the others had not when this was made. And it's a lovely, lovely disc of Havoc OBrien for all of you Brainiacs. Wonderful. And so that, my friends, is 10 amazing recordings on the DUTTON EPOCH label. Go forth and listen and keep on listening. Take care.